Leonardo and the Flying Boy. There were no spaceships or airplanes when Zorro was a boy. The sky belonged to the birds, but one man dreamed of something incredible. One day, Zorro, he told his people will sail through the clouds and look down at the world below. Anything is possible. The man with the amazing dream and a beard like a wizard was Leonardo da Vinci. Anything seemed possible in Leonardo's busy studio. He was a painter, a sculptor, a musician, and a scientist. Wow. Sometimes he showed Zorro his beautiful notebooks where 1,000 ideas spilled from every single page. We must try to understand everything, said the great genius. How does life begin? How does the plant grow? How do the planets move? And how could a person fly like a bird? When Zorro tried to read the books, he found them written back to front. So the secret words could only be found in a mirror. So the secret words can only be found in the mirror. Those words are back to front, so you have to look in the mirror to read them. There was one place where Zorro could never go. One mysterious workshop where the door was always locked. No one was allowed in there except Leonardo himself. Zorro longed to know what was inside. Perhaps a fantastic sculpture, he thought, or a huge war machine. In the studio, everyone had to work hard. Zorro mixed colours, cleaned brushes and practiced his drawings. When I am a grown-up, I will have my own studio, he said, and a secret workshop too. Of course you will, Zorro, smiled Leonardo. Leonardo was a kind man. If ever he found an animal which was sick or hungry, he would bring it home for the people to look after. But one day, Leonardo found something very strange. He dragged the wild and noisy creature into the studio where it kicked and fought and spat at the great artist. What is it? asked Zorro. It's a boy, laughed Leonardo. A very wild boy. He's never been to school and his mother is too poor to look after him. She begged me to give him some work before he ends up in prison. The wild boy grabbed Leonardo's hand and bit very hard. Leonardo pretended to be angry, but Zorro could see he was laughing. I'll call you Sele, said Leonardo. It means little devil, and that's exactly what you are. So Sele came to stay in the studio, and although he was a bad boy, everyone grew fond of him. But you can't wear those rags, said Leonardo. I'm going to buy you a real velvet suit and some shoes. Now where did I leave my purse? They searched high and low until, at last, Zorro found the money hidden in Sele's filthy cloak. Zorro couldn't believe it. Who would dare to steal from Leonardo da Vinci? Day after day, Leonardo dreamed up inventions of every kind. Zorro was amazed to see a parachute, the very first bicycle, a deadly war machine, a gadget for walking on water, a lifeboat, and a diving suit. Once he built a machine for cutting and polishing glass and made himself a pair of spectacles. Now I can keep an eye on Sele. He winked at Zorro. Early one morning, Leonardo took Zorro into town to look for interesting faces to draw. When he noticed someone especially beautiful or unusually ugly, Leonardo would follow them, making dozens of sketches. They came to a market where a lady was selling birds in tiny cages. Leonardo looked at the birds, then, to Zorro's surprise, he bought them all. But instead of taking the birds home as pets, Leonardo told Zorro to open the cages. Everyone stared. No one can understand. A bird should be free, said Leonardo. Look, Zorro, can you see how their wings push against the air? It gives me an idea. Leonardo began to run. As soon as he got home, he locked himself in the secret workshop again. Zorro could hear the hammering and sawing from inside. Hour after hour, Zorro waited, but Leonardo wouldn't stop for food or drink. What on earth was he building? It must be something incredible, thought Zorro. Something no one has ever dreamed of. At last, he fell asleep on the stairs outside. Leonardo began a wonderful painting of a woman called Mona Lisa. She had to sit for weeks without moving, so Leonardo could paint acrobats and musicians to stop her getting bored. Zorro stared at the dreamy green mountains and the twisting rivers. Surely no one has painted anything so perfect, he thought. The face in the painting was smiling and a mysterious, gentle smile, as if she knows some secret, thought Zorro, as if she had seen that locked room. Suddenly, Sele creeped up behind him. Come with me, Zorro, he hissed. I'll show you something more interesting. That picture, Sele looked. Sele looked very guilty. He dragged Zorro out of the studio and quietly down the stairs at the door of the secret workshop. Sele pulled out a bunch of keys. You stole them, gasped Zorro. Leonardo will throw you back on the street. Sele only laughed and unlocked the door. Zorro knew he shouldn't be there. He should turn and run to Leonardo, but he just had to see inside that secret room. Zorro couldn't believe his eyes. An extraordinary machine filled the room. Its wings were like a great eagle. Help me put it outside, ordered Sele. If we wait until Leonardo is ready, we will never fly. Anyway, you are the only one small enough to fit in the machine. It was made for you. You will be the flying boy. Leonardo will be furious, whispered Zorro. No, not when he sees you flying above the studio, shouted Sally. Come on, Zorro, help me. Soon as Leonardo worked upstairs, Sally and Zorro hauled and dragged the heavy machine out of the workshop, along the street and far into the fields. Sally pointed to the highest hill. We will try the machine from there, he said. As the sun set, they reached the top. Now, panted Sally. Just lie in here. When you pedal, the wings will flap. Zorro was shaking. He felt ill. Perhaps the machine isn't finished, he cried. We should be patient. But Sele was already strapping Zorro into the machine and dragging it towards the edge of the hill. Zorro was terrified. He began to shout. Suddenly there was a gust of wind. Sele pushed, and the flying machine left the ground. Zorro looked down at the world below. He was sobbing with fear. But for a few seconds, he flew like a bird. It works! It works! Shouted the wild boy from far below. But something was wrong. The bird was too heavy. Zorro pedaled and pulled, but the machine began to fall. At the moment, Leonardo came running across the field. Zorro tugged on the ropes and screamed as the machine fell like a stone and crashed into a tree. Leonardo himself pulled Zorro's limp body from the wrecked machine and carefully carried him home. Solo followed slowly, his head hanging in shame. Zorro was lying in bed, his leg hurt, his head wrapped in bandages. "Oh, Zorro," said Leonardo sadly. "It doesn't surprise me that Sele would disobey me. But you, perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps you will never fly. We're not birds. From now on, I will stick to painting." "No," said Zorro quietly. "Remember what you told me. One day people will fly. The machine was too heavy, that's all." Leonardo thought for a moment. Then he jumped up. "Yes," he shouted, "and the wings should be longer like this." And he threw open his notebook and began to work, slowly and patiently, until a beautiful drawing appeared. A new flying machine, more amazing than ever. And while he worked, Leonardo began to smile. A mysterious, gentle smile, as if he could see far into the future, where boys and girls just like Zorro would sail through the clouds. And anything is possible. The end.